This episode of the podcast is brought to you by the UK's #1 coral selling website, prestigereef.co.uk and reefdork.etsy.com for all your 3D printed aquarium accessory needs. What's up, YouTube? Oh, Ryan, you're looking very serious.
I was writing something down.
All right, okay.
I was writing something down.
Doing your homework.
I do
a new low in terms of how late you're preparing.
Oh no, there is no homework done for this. Firstly, it's something I don't know about, and secondly, it's something that's equipment based, so I really don't know about.
Well, so today we're going to be talking about the Reef Factory issue. Then, so there's some. It looks like there's some serious issues. I don't know exactly what's going on, but it looks like a bankruptcy petition has been served. I'm going to caveat all of this right from the start. I don't really know what's going on. Reef Factory have been very cagey and they've made one announcement, but that's it. The servers went down and now they're back up. There was an announcement about that, but no one really knows what's going on. But basically, they're in financial trouble as far as I can make out. So we're going to be talking.
Please don't sue us.
Yeah, well, that's fine.
That's our caveat from the beginning.
Yeah, sue Ryan. Okay.
No, I know.
But and the other thing to say is that so I know a tiny bit, and I'm not just being modest, genuinely a tiny bit about how bankruptcy works in the UK, but I don't know anything about how it works in Poland. So I'll explain what I know, but it won't. This is all kind of the trouble with this sort of thing is really you want to do this. You want to talk about this a month down the line when everything's come out and you know what's going on. Because at the moment, this is all just going to be speculation. But there are a few things that I can tell people about, and there's some interesting stuff that's come out. And basically, we're just going to chat about it. So there we go. But before we do that, if you've just clicked on the video for that bit, I'm going to put a timestamp along the bottom in the pinned comment when we get there. It's probably going to be about half an hour or so. So we're Ryan's going to drone on about nonsense for 20 minutes, and then I'm going to do the same.
I doubt it'll be 20 minutes because I haven't got a huge amount this week. But would you like to go first this time?
No, you crack on.
Crack on. You. He's only saying this because I've already told him I don't have anything to talk about. But so life is the same as usual for me with regards to the coral farm. So I got zoas in the other day. I think I told you that. And I have been fragging those again. Now, we both know that I am not a massive fan of fragging zoas because they made me very ill once, but they are one of the most popular sellers on the website. So I thought, I would put on my big boy pants, face my fears and start doing it again. So as I said, I got a load of zoas in. They're nice ones. I wasn't sure at first when they first turned up, but they actually turned out to be quite nice. And so this week I spent a lot of time fragging them. I have put some on the website. There are more to go on the website still. But that's that. And what I'm doing this time, rather than fragging them with the saw, which is what made me really ill, I'm literally cutting them up underwater where I can.
Yeah, okay.
Luckily, the rock was really, really soft, so I can literally cut them with bone cutters. I can just literally cut a chunk off at a time.
Good, yeah.
And I don't do them all in one go. I'm sort of doing it a little bit at a time. But I just thought to myself, I'm definitely missing out on a massive. I would argue that zoas are probably the most popular coral in the hobby. Would you agree?
Well, I got no idea, but yeah, that I wouldn't be surprised.
Because although I think a lot of people would say torches would be, but there's plenty of people that stay away from torches, and all those people that now keep torches, yeah, probably kept. They're like a beginner one. Most people consider them a beginner coral. So I've done that. I did some fragging of some gonnies actually, which I don't normally do. Gonnies are a little bit more delicate when fragging them, I found. So they need sort of additional iodine. But there was a tank breakdown, and someone bought me a load of their corals, and they literally said, "Look, if you cut these up for me, you can have half of them." So he got 20 frags out of it, or I think it was even more than 20 frags, and then I got to keep the other 20 frags, which was which was good. Works for me. If anyone
Mm.
else wants to do that sort of business with me, you let me know.
So how did that work? Sorry, I missed the first half of that. It was a coral they had.
So yeah, so
Or-
they had a coral. It was too big for their tank, so they wanted to frag it, but they didn't have. Basically, I provided a coral cutting service for someone, and they literally, I didn't ask for this. They literally sent me a message saying, "Look, I've got a coral. I won't be able to. I've got a small frag tank. I won't be able to have 40 frags in it. If you cut it in half and make 20 frags for me, you can have the other, whatever's left." So said that. For probably an hour's worth of work, I got a load of gunnies.
So all you paid him, paid in inverted commas,
was my time.
cutting up his frags. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, okay, cool.
So, yeah, he was a local person, but I think that might be a continuous thing because I then got a call on, I think it was Friday, and he went, I didn't know he was coming, and it was about 2:00. He went, "Are you gonna be at home at 3:30? I got some more coral for you." So, and then he turned up with this massive stylophora. But unfortunately for that piece, it was no good for me. But this stylophora had 2 regal tangs stuck in it, so it was obviously he's breaking the tank down. Couldn't get the regal tangs out, so I was trying to I was like literally I put them under the sort of not the regal tangs.
Bloody hell! So he brought the 2 tangs in the coral to you.
Yep, the 2 tangs were in the coral. The tank was being shut down basically, so these were like the last pieces that had to go. So he just turned up with this stylophora with 2 little regal tangs, and I went, they can't be that hard to get out. I held them out in the water for probably like 5 minutes. They were not coming out.
Jeez, okay.
Normally, as soon as you take them out of the water, if there's a fish in a rock,
jump,
they jump out. But it would not do it. So in the end, I ended up putting the coral on the saw, and that still wouldn't get them out. So he managed to like lever it open. But stylos are they're like one of the hardest corals, aren't they?
Thick, aren't they? This is the milker stylo, I take it.
Yes.
You mean?
Yeah. That coral has been there for a long time because it was probably the biggest milker style I've ever seen.
Yeah. Okay.
But I just thought it was interesting because, as I said, with those normally fish let go, but these fish they were happy to. They were like, "I'm going down with this. I'm shit.
Dying. Yeah. I'm not leaving this coral."
I even put like a little knife in there, not a knife, like a butter knife, to try to touch them.
Yeah.
Just to see if they would like freak out. Nope, they were not coming out.
Right.
So
were they big? They must have been big.
Probably 4 inches. So not massive compared to their obviously what size they do get to. So that was a little bit of excitement. Just for reference, don't do that again. Like not him, but don't turn up my house with a coral with fish in it. Going, can you solve this for me? But yeah, so that was that. I have it's a bit quieter at the moment, I would say.
Yeah, okay.
As in the start of the month was a bit quieter with regards to sales, but interestingly, it's actually picked up today. Quite like I've sold more coral today than I've sold all last week. So
that's slightly surprising to me because it's been the weather in the UK today has been perfect and all week as well. And when weather's good, people go and do stuff. They don't buy corals, do they?
I know. I was sitting in the sun today, and then all my phone went ding, and then I was like, "That's weird. Why someone put an order in?" And then about probably half an hour later, it happened again, and then again, and I was like, "Must be coral buying day." And this is what I said to you just before the live stream. There's some I personally, you would assume that people would spend the most money just after payday, wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm.
But what I've realized, it seems to be the week after payday that people spend money. And I think that's because people they pay all their required things, and because corals are an extra, they're not a requirement. They see what money
debatable, but okay.
Yeah, they see what money they have left, and then they obviously bring it to me. So that's that. And the other thing to mention, obviously last week I said that I put a what you see is what you get section on the website.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't done as well as I thought it would do. I was surprised. It hasn't done massively well because I was under the impression that people would like that, if you see what I mean. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I tried again to upload stuff on eBay. They are not, even though there are literally, you checked a minute ago, didn't you? There's 2,000 listings of coral on eBay. If I tried to upload a single one, they take it down immediately.
I looked at 2 sellers who I know, who I've seen before regularly. I won't. I ain't no snitch, so I'm not going to say their names in case they get taken down.
Yeah,
But 2 sellers in the UK who sell quite a lot, and they both got like 300 plus corals, and they're all listed as live coral, LPS coral. So it's not like they're trying to hide it or whatever, you know.
I know, it's just, it blows my mind. It's like, why are they picking on me? I feel like I'm being bullied by eBay. Basically,
I'm guessing eBay just do this terrible half-assed job, and then when they find someone, they flag you, and if they haven't found you, you carry on, you crack on.
How can you not find them? You found them instantly.
Yeah, oh, I know, but I don't know. I can't explain it.
As I said,
eBay
they're probably low down. Yeah, they're low down.
Yeah. They're looking at goldfish and dogs.
Yeah. Now I wasn't sure if to mention this, but because I have been put on the spot with regards, not really put on the spot, I kind of knew that I had a week in week reefing. I just haven't got. No, don't mention that.
Speaking of putting you on the spot,
look, I was about to tell everyone my secrets then, and now you've just distracted me, so I might not do it.
Go on, tell us your secrets.
No, with regards to the video, I will be making a video next week, definitely, because I am going to 2 events and I will be filming.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So yeah. So what I can't remember what the 2 events are. Oh, we're going Love to Reef is on Saturday,
and Reef Summit. Yeah.
And Reef Summit, yes. So you will have at least one video next week. My video will probably be less professional than everyone else's. It's probably going to be me in the car with Alex going, "Way, we go, lads on tour," because just before Reef Summit, we're going. Me, you, and Jamie are going. We're going to a fish shop, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
A fish shop I've not been to before, so that'll be interesting. Anyway, back on track. So with regards to eBay, I believe that the time is limited now with regards to what, like, it's only a matter of time before they all get taken down, similar to how most of the goldfish and most of the koi carp have now been taken down. So I am working on I'm working on 3 secret projects. One of them is I'm creating a coral auction website. So it has not been as straightforward as I thought it was going to be. It has cost hundreds of pounds already, but I basically wanted to replicate what people are doing on eBay, where they will come to the website. There's nothing on the page at the moment, so there's no point in even telling you the website. No. Although I think you know what it is anyway. But yes, so that's and it will hopefully be literally like virtually identical with regards to how smooth it is to eBay. So
it's a secret, Zachary, so just keep it.
Secret.
Yeah.
So as I said, there's 3 secret things I'm doing at the moment, but it's halfway there, maybe a little bit over halfway. So, and it basically will be a place where everyone, not just me, everyone who's selling on eBay, even like you could do if you want. You don't need to be a shop. You don't need to be anyone. If a shop wants to be on it, great. If if someone wants to sell just a single coral, then they are welcome too. I wanted to ask you something, but you've now just walked off. I'm still here. I'm here. I want to put some like terms and conditions into this.
Okay.
And I was interested in your opinion because there was a few local people I've spoken to, and everyone goes, "Oh, that's a really good idea. If you can execute it properly, it's a really good idea." Why'd you just make that face?
Because you're about to sound like the clients I used to have when I was in my legal days.
Why? What did you think of that?
I want it to be really good, but I don't want to spend any money on it. So
No, that isn't what I was going to say. What the issue with eBay? There's a few issues with eBay. One of them is that you never really know what you're going to get from people, unless you read the reviews. And as I said, even I got stung the other day, and the person had 1,000 reviews. But the other issue is the doctored pictures that are up. So I just wonder if you could somehow go, like, you're welcome to sell stuff on here, but let's try and make it realistic. Do you see what I mean?
Oh, I see. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good idea, because you don't. It reflects, if it's your website, it doesn't matter that it's not your coral. So, like, if you're on Amazon is just a marketplace for most things.
Yeah.
So if some random bloke starts selling, fake ID or whatever,
Yeah.
people don't think, oh God, that's some naughty little guy based in arse end of nowhere. People like Jeff Bezos is doing that. So absolutely, you should have community standards.
Yeah.
And the only problem with that is because I have community standards on the Facebook page we have. I'm extremely rare that I need to flag anything, to be honest, because everyone's just normal. But yeah, the only problem with that is monitoring it.
Yeah, it has to be policed. What are you up to, Les?
And that takes time. Because even there are times when the Facebook page takes a little bit of monitoring, because every now and then someone will flag up. Like in the past, when I first set it up, I had it set up so you couldn't join unless your profile had been on Facebook for a week or something. Yeah. And then a fraudster slipped through, so I had to change it to a month, and I had to go and change it to a couple of other things. So every now and then it's a bit fiddly. But if you're doing that and you've got new people coming on board regularly and uploading a post regularly, there's potentially a bit of a time draw, but you absolutely should have standards. Yeah.
See, I was hesitant to whether I should say this, because you never know, someone else might like come up with an idea, if you see what, or replicate it. But the difference is, like, so people have tried to do this on Band, they've tried to do it on WhatsApp and things like that. To create one of these websites, you have two issues. One of them is easy to solve, and one of them is difficult to solve. So the first issue is you need to have enough sellers to make it worthwhile. Now, I alone can put literally like 200 corals up for the initial like first release. I could put 200 like different corals up to get people interested to sign up. The other part is getting people to sign up. You have to have enough buyers to make it worthwhile for the sellers to be interested.
Yeah, totally.
So I've got like, there's thousands of contacts under Prestige Reef. So like, and I know lots and lots of people, and I'm sure you know lots of people, if you see what I mean. But like, and I could advertise on Ultimate Reef, where there's again thousands of people, I assume, on there. So I really believe that there is something with this idea. We hit so the website's actually being coded by my girlfriend. So the expense is actually all like the regulations to like, there's certain things you have to do with people's data and stuff like that. So this has been like properly looked into, like to protect people's data, but it all costs money. Even like the plugin for the auction website costs like, I think £150 or something just to use it. Yeah. So there's like money is being invested into it, but then we've hit a minor snag basically with regards to some of the coding. So I am hesitant whether it will 100% go ahead, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm too invested for it not to go ahead, if you see what I mean. That's interesting. Frag Finders has added an auction option. I did not know that. See, I actually spoke. It's interesting because I called the person who runs Frag Finders, saying to him, "You need to do this. You need to add an auction to your thing." And then when I got off the call, I thought to myself, "Wait a minute, I can do that." And so I just thought, like,
well,
why
someone
not?
has bought a barley green slimer for £2 on their auctions.
Oh, is it?
So
see, that's the problem. You have to have enough people on there to make it like so that there is actual some.
Yeah, if there's 5 people bidding and only one of them wants a coral.
Yeah.
£2.
So I think I will probably risk my own corals first.
Yeah.
Like, as I said, I will probably put up, there's certain people I would speak to about doing it. I don't want the Frag Finders person to be annoyed at me because, as I said, I was the one who called him up and told him to do it. But it's I think that I have a unique position where like I can get enough people on it. I believe that's the difficult thing. Getting enough people on it and generating enough interest, I believe that I can do. So, and originally I thought about doing it as aquatic, like so anyone could put anything fish related. But I think, like for now, I'll just stick
to what you know and grow it to that.
What I know.
Yeah. Okay. I'm skeptical. I think getting enough people to it is going to be difficult, and getting people interested in it to keep, because you know what it's like with your own website. You can't just do one post on Facebook and then that's it for a year. You sit back and watch the money roll in. So you've got to keep it going and keep tending to it. You get what you put in, don't you?
Yeah.
So
as I said, I'm someone, look, you know this already. I'm someone I will try basically anything. And eBay was generating a good income for me. Therefore, it makes it worthwhile. Like even just those 5 weeks that I did it for, it was a good income. So I just thought it will solve my problem potentially, and it will potentially solve other people's problems as well if they're looking for somewhere to sell. Like, and again, they like it's a trust thing. It's like people also like without saying like if I go look, can you support me in this? People will sign up. That's exactly what happened when I started the Coral website. So yeah, I'm just I'm hoping that it will work. You have just told me you were skeptical, which you're the first person who told me you were skeptical, but I'm going to ignore you because I am going to provide a service for people.
Auctions is not your idea. You did not invent auctions, right?
Oh,
this has been around for a while, and I'm sure people have done this before, tried it before, and it's hard work. And eBay has this unique advantage that it's people are on it all the time. It's a big website.
Yeah,
you don't have that with Coral Bay, and although you and I, for example,
Coral Bay, just to clarify,
whatever but if you and I have got a reason, we can shout about it a little bit. But there are plenty of people in the hobby who don't watch you and me yet. Obviously, they're potential subscribers, but
then what you need to do is you need to find other ways to get to those people.
Yeah.
And as I said, when eBay eventually does stop everyone, people are going to be looking for a place to go. And the other thing is the people that are selling on eBay at the moment, they have customers, they have existing customers, and they can go, look, I'm not selling eBay anymore, I'm now selling on this. So they can also channel. Like,
to be fair, if you're on eBay still and all your listings are fine, you're probably thinking I could do with something else. So you might double up and you might say, well, you know what, Coral Bay, Prestige Ryan Auction.coral or whatever is why don't I go on there as well? So I guess so. But
I think that you know that whatever I do, I try to do well, maybe not. Maybe you don't know because you've seen some of the pictures I took, but I try and do things properly, don't I?
Yeah, of course.
I try, like, I take pride in what I do, and like I want it to. If it's not going to be great, I'm not the person to do it.
That actually, on that point, we mentioned this the other day. Reefing with O's is popular in the US reef and bid. Someone else commented on this last week. Is it? Is that really popular in the US reef and bid? Yeah, because Poto does it. I post pieces of the ocean. So, and you had a look at that, didn't you?
Yeah, I did have a look. Yeah, there didn't seem a huge amount of sellers on it. It seemed to mostly be one person, I think, that said it. Like I looked at it for probably like, oh, is that what it was? I looked at it for about 5 minutes. Interesting. So John Wright asked a question. It's a bit of a loaded question to ask me this question. Do you think online sales in corals are harming the local fish shop? Online sales in anything are harming anything, any brick and mortar store, if you see what I mean. You only have to go to the high street to go. This high street 20 years ago was packed full of people on a Sunday, and now it's not. So the only thing that I will say is if I did create this, everyone is welcome. Every shop. And remember that the benefit of them doing that is that I will be using my platform to advertise a location for them to sell their corals. Do you see what I mean? So it's almost like going, if you want Prestige Reef to help sell your corals, come sell here. So that's it, because there'll be plenty of little shops where people don't know, like people haven't heard of them. Yeah, I would say I think there'll be some shops that would probably do it, and there'll be some shops that absolutely will never do it.
Yeah. It's and some people, just won't have the time, I'm sure. Which is probably the main thing. Reefing though says Reef and Bid is getting popular. He was skeptical about it at first, so there you go. Same as me. Prove me wrong, Ryan.
Don't you worry, I love to do that. I live to do that. But
I'll keep telling you it's rubbish until either I'm wrong or you're wrong.
As I said, for someone that was selling on eBay, it was great while it lasted, and I actually am kicking myself that I've not been doing it for the last 4 years.
It's a shame. It's unfortunate timing, isn't it?
And there's a few other questions. Look, there's plenty of things that need to be like absolutely nailed out, like with regards to doing this. Some people are saying, will the sellers be vetted? Sellers aren't vetted on eBay, so like you have to realize I'm providing a service if I do this for people, but I can't have this service going, can you give me your credentials? Can you show me that like your tank has no pests and stuff like that? It's not like you wouldn't expect that from Ultimate Reef, would you?
Well, actually, Ultimate Reef have got to the point now. This is managing this is a pain in the backside, and I feel for the moderators of Ultimate Reef. But they've got to the point now where if you post an advert, it used to just go live and then they'd go, and if there was something wrong with it, they'd message you and tell you. Now, you post an advert and it gets held pending approval, so the mods have to approve it, have to approve every post, which must be a big admin burden. And if you haven't followed the rules, they kick it back. And I presume they've got to that point because they're fed up of people not reading the rules and getting things wrong all the time. And so
I'll do there'll be a disclaimer at the beginning. You have one chance.
Yeah.
Totally. Don't mess around. You have one chance, and that's it. It's done. But it's interesting because Antonio says it's my reputation. Is it my reputation? So it's not coming on. It's not coming under the Prestige Reef banner. So it's not going to be called Prestige Reef Coral Auctions. I do take pride in my reputation, to be honest. I tried to maintain it. Like I'm not someone who goes, "Oh, you got a problem? That's all right. That's your problem now." Like I tried to deal with everyone fairly. But if people know that they're buying from other people, it's like Ultimate Reef's reputation isn't damaged by the fact that no,
very true.
Do you see what I mean?
But I suppose it depends how it goes, because if 90% of it is all good and it's all fine, then great. But if you get loads of people, chances on there, just not doing very good things, and corals dying and not looking after them, all this sort of stuff. So I don't know. It kind of does and it kind of doesn't. Yeah.
We'll see. Don't try and put me off the idea.
Early stages. It just needs thought. That's all. It just needs thought.
It is early stages.
People would have said this to Jeff Bezos when he was setting up Amazon. Oh, mate, don't do that.
Yeah, why would anyone buy a book online?
yeah, you dickhead. So, but it works out. So you just got. I just think there's a lot to figure out. But yeah, there is.
I'm just me. I go into things blindly, winging it, and then eventually work out the kinks once it's done. But I'm not overly worried. There's what I would do. There'll be certain people I'd speak to that were I know are premium sellers, if you see what I mean. We'll start off with the premium people and see how that goes, and then we'll go on.
Let the riff in. Yeah.
No, because look, if it's the first time someone's posting corals, it's the first time someone is taking pictures of corals, and they've got a blue. The coral's just completely blue. Terrible it's not their fault to some extent. I know Aaron's Aquarium said a minute ago that about I still call him Aaron's Aquarium. People don't even know who that is anymore because it's not his name.
Yeah,
it's not his name. Said about obviously giving a guide or a template with regards to what can be done. As I said, it's not. It's 85% that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But there's obviously that last little bit where
some stuff to iron out.
If there's too many issues, then it becomes not worthwhile. Then I just won't do it. But it's as I said, I'll give anything a go. And and what's the worst that happens? I just go, actually, that was a bad idea. Don't do it anymore.
Fair enough. Okay.
So I would say that is my week in reefing. There you go. I've done my 30 minutes of rambling for you.
I'm glad to hear it. Well, I'll rattle through mine. I've not got massive things. A couple of things.
No. Now you have 30 minutes of stuff to make up now.
I've got lots of Reef Factory stuff to talk about. That's fine. Bullet points. The UK agreed a free trade deal with India last week, I think it was. It's not come into effect yet. I think it's being phased in over the next months or year or whatever. And it's not just a blanket. There are no taxes on anything. But in that spirit, I've added India on Etsy, reefdork.etsy.com, as a place you can buy. I've had it really. I've just been a bit cautious with it before. So until now, you can buy if you're in America, Canada, the Netherlands, Ireland. I had to stop Ireland because of some stupid rule recently, actually. But I think I had it just a few places, and I tried France. That didn't work out. The reason France didn't work out, I sold two. There's these little test kit holders, right? So like, where is it? Oh, they're not there. But I sold a test kit holder for an alkalinity, HANA alkalinity checker, and it was like 10 quid or something. They're cheap. And in the photo, one of the photos shows the HANA alkalinity test, the checker in the thing. And then there are other photos where it's just the thing you get. And this guy bought it for 10 quid. And then when it arrived, he messaged me and said, "Oh, I thought I was getting the HANA alkalinity checker." That's like 100 quid. If you thought you were getting it for a tenner, you should be asking questions.
Yeah.
But I
remember that story.
but I think that was probably because there's a translation issue. So I decided, let's not go to a country that I don't know, because I don't speak French. Whereas Netherlands, for example, they all speak English there. So, but anyway, so now I've opened up to India, and there you go. So if you're in India, you can buy Reef Dork stuff. Probably not a lot of people, but still. Second order of business, my nano tank that I'm going to set up, this little TMC one, I was planning on doing that tonight and then starting it tonight and finishing it tomorrow. That's gone out the window. So that's not going to happen anymore. And I've postponed it. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because I mentioned to Reef Keeper today, I said, I'm going to come in and borrow some corals off you, and I'll do that tomorrow. That's not going to happen anymore. So thanks. I'll come back to you. I just didn't have time today, Ned. And then I've changed salt, Ryan.
Oh, yeah, I saw this. I even had customers coming in talking to me about this. Why does everyone care?
That's hilarious. I was surprised that people did seem quite interested. I just posted on Instagram, and people seemed quite interested. A few people were like, "Oh, why have you done that?" And there's no real good reason. So this NIOS stuff, it's the thing that pushed me over the edge was I did a tank tour last weekend. And the guy whose tank it was, he's in the chat, Chris, salt. He was using NIOS, and I'd been looking at it for a while. I chatted to him about it, and I was like, "Yeah, what sod it? I'm going to do it." I've been using Tropic Marine Pro for a while now, years. I can't remember how long, but at least since BRS started talking about it, and maybe even before then. I can't remember what point I switched over, but probably 5 years, something like that. And it's fine, but the only thing I don't like about it is that the alkalinity is 7. And I tend to run. It varies. I'm not really bothered. And at any one point, it's not going to be at the level I want it. But if I could press a button, I would tell you that I aim for 8. So if it starts to get to below 8, I dial up the dosing. If it gets too much above 8, I'll dial it down a bit. So that's my rough. I don't really care if it's 7 or 8 or 9 or whatever, but that's roughly where I aim for. And so it doesn't really make sense to have a salt that is low alkalinity. And actually, I find sometimes Tropic Marine mixes up below 7, so it might even 6.9 is the standard or something like that. So
I've never ever actually measured.
This is the thing; it doesn't matter. This is not a reason. So if you're thinking, "Oh my god, I need to change because the alkalinity is too low," it doesn't matter. Because the alkalinity level in your salt is not what affects the alkalinity level in your tank. Funnily, as dosing does that. So if I do a 10% water change, it's going to make the tiniest little slither of difference. My
roughly
dosing
10% difference.
Yeah, but okay, smart ass. If my alkalinity is 8 and the salt water is 7, I do a 10% water change. What's the alk going to end up?
I don't know. Someone will be able to tell me, but maths was
I think it's 7.9 or something. But it's a tiny difference. But what affects your alkalinity level is your dosing. So how much you dose, that's fine. So it doesn't really matter. But I've heard a lot about NIOS for a while. People have been talking about it for a long time. BRS, Ryan Batchelor talked about it a lot. I've had a lot of people say that a lot of money has gone into it and they're doing things right. And NIOS is one of those companies that they do things right, don't they? So I just thought, you know what, sod it, I'm going to switch over because NIOS stuff is, I don't know what the alkalinity is. I think it varies a little bit. My bucket says 8.8. It gives you a little readout on the top, an ICP readout. It says 8.8 alkalinity. I thought it was a bit lower than that, but whatever. That's basically it. I think it's probably as good, in inverted commas, as the Tropic Marine stuff. And it's just a slightly higher alkalinity. So I just thought, sod it. And the only hesitation with this was one of my local fish shops sells it, Aquatic Emporium.
Yeah.
But the other one that I go to that's closer to me and I go to all the time, Reef Keeper Moss End, doesn't currently sell it.
Yeah.
And it's just so good to be able to go in and buy it. So I asked Reef Keeper yesterday, I said, can you get NIOS in? Yeah. And they're going to look into it. It might not happen, but yeah, so I've switched salt. Do you know what difference I'm expecting it to have on my tank?
None.
Sweet Fanny Adams.
Zero
difference.
It was funny because, as I said, look, to some extent, even I messaged you, didn't I? Going, why are you changing your sub? So, but did I actually care, or was I more like I'm not really
Way
sure I
done that.
cared. I was just intrigued, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
I said I had 2 customers come in, like on Friday, I think it was, or maybe Saturday, I can't remember. And went, oh yeah, see, Reef Dork's changing his salt, and I'm like, why? Why is that a thing? So, but apparently people care what you do.
Well, Reefkeeper makes an excellent point. If things go wrong, I can blame it on the salt. I can see the thumbnail now. Nios killed my gunnies. Yeah, bastards. Yeah, exactly. It's not my fault. I know. I haven't tested my parameters for 6 months, but it must be that bloody salt. You know.
How many people do you reckon went and bought Nios after seeing that post?
Millions, Ryan. You have any idea how powerful I am? Millions, literally millions. But there you go. So I've switched salt. that's the update. One thing
is it a pharmaceutical salt? Because you know you get like evaporated.
Yeah. So Red Sea, for example, is evaporated. I think it is anyway. No facts here, but I'm pretty sure that's right because it's based in the Red Sea. And this stuff it's scientists in a lab, like with microscopes, going 1 bit of boron, 1 bit of lithium, and all that. But yeah, the only thing I've noticed about it so far, I don't like the handle on the bucket.
Okay.
It's just like a bit flimsy, and I don't like it. And the other thing is, I put it in. I pour it in a plastic jug. Like to measure it out, I weigh it in a plastic jug. And normally when I go to rinse off the jug afterwards, it's just like, you know what salt's like. It's just like dust, basically. Isn't it? This stuff, when I rinsed it, it was kind of like a slimy texture, rather than like a dusty, salty texture. So that was weird. But anyway, the only thing I'm really bothered about is it good, in inverted commas, as in are they making sure that all the levels are it's got the right amount of trace and all that nonsense, and does it mix up clean? Because I'm not the kind of person who's got time to clean my salt mixing bucket. And Tropic Marine Pro mixes clean as a, you know what. So
I don't. Please clarify.
Clean as a whistle.
There you go.
Clean as a whistle's honeypot. So there you go. And Tropic Marine are crying. Yeah, I might do a video about why you should stop using Tropic Marine immediately.
Oh no, I don't think they're on the list. As you know, they are on the list because you hate the way they
the naming conventions.
They name things. Yeah.
Oh, it's just Well, let's put them deeper in the list. Yeah.
Don't you worry. You'll be able to ask. You'll be able to talk to them on Tuesday or Wednesday, won't you?
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, actually, that's funny.
So
the owner of Tropic Marine is going to be there.
So I'll let him know about your recent salt change, and
he watches this, mate. You don't need to. This is. He's sat there with his wife and kids at the moment with this on the TV. I can tell.
Well, in case he is listening, I just ordered 400 kilos of your salt. So thank you very much. It turns up in my house. I look like a cocaine drug dealer.
Yeah,
so it doesn't come in the bucket. It comes in like clear plastic bags with just a white label on it saying
powder.
Yeah.
But yeah, there we go. And the other thing is that we've got Love to Reef and the TMC event coming up.
Yes. Yeah.
But anyway, so we're going to move on. And before we get onto the Reef Factory stuff, I'll get there, I promise you.
Member questions.
We're going to do member questions. One of them is a member comment.
Okay.
It's from Meeus Mayus. And he says, "No, I'm invested in the Reef Factory ecosystem. This is scary stuff." Yeah, a lot of people.
Not me.
A lot of Reef Factory stuff. And then Tomo Bishbosh says, "Do you guys have any recommendations for in-cabinet storage?" This is right up your street, Ryan. Yeah. Like a place I can get decent small units or boxes or storage. I've not got a sump in my tank, so the cabinet is empty, and I've ended up putting stuff in there, but it just feels a bit unorganized with all the plugs and all that sort of stuff. And I feel like I'm creating a fire hazard. Yep. I've been extremely reluctant to attach anything to the side of the cabinet with screws, but should I just bite the bullet with that? Ryan gives no F's.
I would screw stuff into it. That's what I've done. You need small screws so it doesn't go all the way through, because cabinet doors are like an inch
10 mil or exactly, less than that. Yeah, but absolutely, when you get a new tank, especially when it's a nice, and I think yours is the Red Sea Max Nano XXL Nano, ridiculous, but anyway, when you get a nice tank like that, you don't want to mess up you don't want to screw stuff into the cabinet. You're like, I don't know, and I won't be able to sell it. But actually, just do it. I've now got past that. I don't really care anymore. So you'll have it for a while, I suspect. So yeah, I think you should do it. IKEA is the best place to look for that sort of stuff. But the cables, your electric cables, it is great to have them all nicely organized and all that sort of stuff. but I don't think it ever happens. I think.
And you want something plastic. Oh, sorry.
Go on.
You want something plastic, basically. Anything that you put in there, make sure it's plastic. You can get plastic shelves. You can get plastic grates, anything. I had metal in my previous sump. Not in my sump, in my cabinet. And it was fine. It was stainless steel. It was fine for probably, I don't know, years. And then eventually it's just slowly, even stainless steel starts to rust. I got a stainless steel sink in the coral farm, which is like terribly rusted.
Yeah, it's funny. So, you can get the Red Sea slide out tray. I'm not a massive fan of it. I've actually removed mine. But you can get those, and they come with little baskets that you can screw into the slide out bit. So you can. I can't remember how expensive they are. I think they're a little bit pricey, but I would just I would just buy shells and put them into and screw them into the cabinet. Personally,
I'm fascinated by what advice I just gave without realizing. Polly, mate. Oh no, I suppose I was said about the metal. Yes, true. I was like, what's that related to?
I've just thought of something metal related.
Yeah.
But I'm not. I'll tell you about it afterwards.
Okay.
But there you go. So those are the member questions / comment.
Yeah.
Which means we're on to the Prestige Reef Fish of the Week.
Okay. The fish of the week is the red line wrasse. Red line wrasse is what I'm going for.
Hang on.
You're not ready, are you?
No, and I just saw a comment I was going to. I'm going to wind back because I want to talk about a comment. I'm going to get called a Red Sea whore for saying this.
That's fine. You do comment. I just need to. To sort something.
Tom says Red Sea stuff is crazy. Their water container is 60 quid, and this is why I'm going to get called a shill. That container is brilliant. It's a crazy amount of money for an RODI container, but it's really good. I would buy it happily. I don't need one because I got a custom built one, the glass one.
Is that thin thing that goes?
It's just a thin, plastic bottle, but it's got two entrances. Your pump fits in it, and the other one you can fit it at the other end.
Yeah, but
and it's got measuring. I know it's ridiculous. It's waste of money. You do not need it. Just buy a little plastic pot.
Yeah.
But the thing is with that sort of thing, the reason I end up buying I got a custom glass tank made for my RODI because I went through so many. I kept going. I'd go into B&Q or Homebase or whatever, buy a plastic container, and then I'd be like, oh, this isn't quite right. I don't like this, and you buy about 10 of them, and they're never right.
Yeah.
And actually you end up, and so the amount of money you spend, you might as well just get something like that in the first place. So either the Red Sea one or a custom one or whatever.
I just got a nice cheap one from TMC.
Yeah, and to be fair, and if you don't do that, I'm not saying you should do, honestly, but that's the way I would do it. That's why I think it's good. Red lined wrasse, Ryan.
Okay. So that's a terrible picture. Is it going to?
Whoa, poor guys! I uploaded this video and you're slagging him off.
Well, what I'm saying is, it's not. You do this sometimes where you could not pick a worse example. So basically, I picked this fish. This is actually one of my favorite fish, and it's weird. Yes, so it looks a bit more like that. It's red, and what happens is when it turns, it has this like flash of blue, the line that shoots down the side, and then when it's got its side to you, you cannot see this line, so you can't see it in that picture. But when it turns, it's like a lightning bolt of blue, and they're one of my favorite fish for that reason because it's like they've got like extra, animation effects.
I don't think I've ever seen one, or if I have, I haven't noticed.
Common, and also they are great for pests. They're
halicories, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a female one. The males, so it's either a female or a juvenile. But when they, some of them will turn into males, and then they're green. Similar to a Melanurus wrasse, but they keep that blue line even when they get bigger, and yeah, so they're pretty peaceful. They're one of the more interesting wrasse. I like them. Alex said he didn't like them. He said they were boring.
Quality Marine this is an unfair example because their photos are always amazing, but that's a really good photo. That looks awesome. I like that fish, but all the other ones just like meh. Like that one, that looks like a Christmas wrasse.
I think they look better in person.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I'm not bothered.
Yeah, I think they look better in person. That's a male one. So, and I would highly recommend them because they're pretty great. Brian with wrasse knowledge. That's true. I don't really talk about wrasse. It's funny how people start to like recognize things that you're interested in, and I've always said I have no interest in wrasse.
Yeah.
So
there you go. What about the Prestige Reef Coral of the Week?
The coral week I'm going for is a watermelon Samacora.
I didn't pull up your website. I don't know if you've.
That's all right. It makes no difference to me. In fact, the picture on the website is not a great example of a watermelon Samacora, because I think the picture doesn't have that green growth pattern around it.
Yeah, okay.
I would argue that it's not overly watermelon-like. If you look at like a watermelon chalice, I would say that it's not.
That's more like a standard melon, like a yellow melon. What do Americans call melons?
Look at a watermelon chalice. I suppose even a watermelon chalice is probably
yeah.
not the same if you think about it, because it's actually pink and green, isn't it? Rather than like watermelons usually red, aren't they? But
cantaloupe. That's what they call it. Like a honeydew melon is what that looks like to me.
Yeah.
Cantaloupe. Yeah, that does not look like a watermelon at all. And
they're pretty good choices. I think they're relatively hardy. Yeah, and they
unusual
also
color, orange.
Yeah, mine's more goldy. Like, if I'm honest,
Okay.
it looks more gold in person. But it is definitely one of those. I think under different environments, obviously, the colors change of corals, don't they? But the other thing is they grow in like dark places. So I have a freak hair freak hair. That's a pavonia, isn't it? I've got another pavonia, and it grows underneath the racks. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Yes, I've got another Samacora, and it grows underneath the racks. The freak hair does it as well. That's why I'm confusing them. But yeah, so a lot of people go, "Oh, what do I put in this shady area?" If you want to say in a shady area, that will grow. Yeah, that will grow in a shady area.
Yeah, I do like them, but they are a little bit boring actually. I think when you have them, when I've had one before, I liked it in the shop, and then I got it home, and like when it grew out, I was like, but there you go. Rain on your parade.
There you go. So you didn't like the look of the fish I picked, and you don't like the coral I pick either.
Must do better. Next time.
I'll see what I can do.
All right. Well,
right, I get to put my feet up, don't I now?
46, 58. Whilst we're hang on. 47 minutes. Right. Headline topic. 47 minutes and 3 seconds. Headline topic then is what's going on with Reef Factory. So, I will tell you everything I know. I don't have any inside information. I haven't spoken to Reef Factory for ages. They've sent me loads of stuff at first, but I can't remember the last thing they sent me. Probably the smart tester, which was well over a year ago. And I've not spoken to them for a while. In fact, I think I only ever spoke to the owners once or twice. I always dealt with the UK distributor. But anyway, I digress. So I have no inside information, but I've seen a few things knocking around.
Before we get into that, do you want to explain for people who don't know? Because some people wouldn't even know who Reef Factory were, like what they do. Yeah. And this is actually to some extent for my benefit. I know they do some testers, but they sort of expand into many other things, didn't they?
So Reef Factory is a manufacturer of saltwater aquarium stuff, basically. And I'll come on to all the things that they make, but they make lots of stuff. They make lights, they make dosing pumps, they make power heads. They don't have a skimmer, but they were working on it. They make dosing supplements. What else? Testing machines, alkalinity testers, you name it. They make stuff, and they're a Polish company. They started in Europe, and then they expanded. And I've got a little bit of a potted history. I'm going to talk through as well what I think of. I might do this as a separate video one day. I don't know. But I'm going to talk you through what I think is kind of the rise and fall of Reef Factory. So how they started off really promisingly, and how they ended up, what the steps that led to them falling down. Now they're not as far as I can make out. Reef Factory still exists. It hasn't been dissolved. It doesn't go that quickly anyway. But so that's who they are, and let me tell you about what's happened then. So at the moment, they're currently, all their stuff is heavily discounted everywhere. So this is Charterhouse, not quite half price, but a lot of stuff like a light 700 quid is down to 420 quid. So everything, people are trying to sell it at the moment. First thing I'll say is don't buy it. Sorry, but
it feels wrong, doesn't it? Like I know they're a business and everything. And
I've got nothing against shops trying to sell it for a discount. No problem with that. Yeah. But if you're asking me, Alex, should I buy Reef Factory stuff now? Is it a good investment? Hell no. So there's actually in the biking world, motorbiking world, there's a massive company called KTM, and they are going into they've gone into like an administration, as we would call it in the UK, like a bankruptcy protection procedure. And that is a different kettle of fish. I would buy a KTM because they're heavily discounted and they're really good bikes. That will carry on in that company will carry on in some way. And there are spares everywhere. There are experts in. You can go to your nearest mechanic. You don't need to go to a KTM garage. So if they disappear, it doesn't matter. If Reef Factory does disappear, it does matter.
Yeah.
For reasons I'll come on to later. So I personally wouldn't buy anything Reef Factory now. I would hold on and see what comes of it. But there's from what I can make out, there's a bankruptcy petition that has been filed somewhere in Poland. So I don't really know exactly what that means. In the UK, I'll tell you how bankruptcy works broadly in the UK. So bankruptcy is basically when a company can't pay its debts when they fraud you. Okay. Yeah. And if you can't pay your debts, then you're insolvent as a company. So if someone serves a bankruptcy petition on you, and I'm almost certain, well, I'm not almost certain, I'd imagine that a creditor of Reef Factory has served a bankruptcy petition, i.e. someone said, you owe us a load of money, we're fed up of waiting for it, it's been 6 months, it's been a year, whatever, we're not just going to keep writing to you asking you to pay, we're going to file a bankruptcy petition. And if you can pay it, you pay it. If you can't pay it, then we'll liquidate you and we'll wind up the company. So the company no longer exists. So it looks as though someone has filed a bankruptcy petition, which is a big deal. It's not nothing. People don't, if bankruptcy, like insolvency style proceedings happen all the time without you realizing, but it doesn't get this far to the point that there's a bankruptcy petition presented. And it looks as though if they could have paid it, they would have paid their debts off by now, because no one wants this stuff getting out. You don't want people like me talking about it on YouTube.
100%.
So this is not nothing. So if you're thinking
they're on the list now in like bold and
I know.
You said don't buy that stuff.
But if you're thinking, oh, this might be okay, well, yeah, it might be okay, but it's not. This is not nothing. This is serious. Okay. The current status isn't exactly clear. Reef Factory posted on their Facebook page, they've only made one announcement since this happened, and it was, I've got it here so you can pause the screen if you want to see it, but it says, and this is from Marek Protasevich, who I think is the owner or the co-owner, and he says, please rest assured the servers are secure and will continue to operate. We're currently finalizing a few remaining items and we'll share a complete update once everything is ready. We're aiming to have all the details in the next couple of days. That was on Friday is when I screenshotted it. Oh, no, and it was 2 days before then. So actually it was on Wednesday. That was on Wednesday. And as far as I've seen, and I checked beforehand, there's been no update since then. So I've not seen an update. So they're delaying things. It's not that much of a surprise that they're not saying much at the moment, because there's probably not an awful lot that they can say that is going to help. Yeah. But lots of people are already upset that they're not coming out and saying what's going on, which I understand. But I just wouldn't expect it. That's just the way it works when this sort of thing happens. Yeah. People go quiet because saying stuff is probably going to make things worse. There was then a post I saw from on Facebook from Crazy Corals, and it turns out there's something more to it than that. But that the servers went down. So I tried to log on to my Reef Factory account. I still have 3 pieces of Reef Factory equipment that I run. I tried to log on and it wouldn't. It said error 404. You couldn't get onto the website and I couldn't get onto the app. That then came back up again. It wasn't. I think it was down for a few hours, maybe a half a day or something like that. It came back up online, and then there was a post on Facebook from someone called Crazy Corals saying, "Look, a load of us shops and distributors, we're going to get together and we're going to fund the servers indefinitely." Now, indefinitely, it's important to say what that means. It doesn't mean forever. It means for an undefined period of time. Sometimes people, when you see, oh, this is an indefinite ban or whatever, people think it means forever. It doesn't. Indefinite just means we're not going to tell you how long. So but anyway, what they were trying to say, and there might be something lost in translation there. What they were trying to say is, look, we're going to look after you. We're not going to let all your equipment that relies on a server, because this is all in the cloud. So if there's no server, you can't, it will still work. So if you've still got a Reef Factory light, if the servers get turned off tomorrow, the light will keep working. It's not just going to shut down. It's just you won't be able to change the schedule. You won't be able to put it in feed mode, and there'll come a time when you need an update or something needs to happen, and over time it'll just decay and rot. But the servers are important, and there was someone who was saying, these Crazy Corals were saying, look, we're going to stand on us. We will make sure this is okay. I then saw, and I don't know if this is true, but I then saw a post on Ultimate Reef that said, oh, by the way, that person, Crazy Corals, is the wife of the owner.
Well,
So
that's good, isn't it? Like because they're saying, look, we will keep it going.
yeah,
Although you would think it would just come from the owner.
I mean, there's going to be if the owner's got problems because he can't spend money. If you're in bankruptcy, you can't in the UK anyway. And again, I don't know how it works in Poland, but in the UK, if you're spending money that you shouldn't be, you're throwing good money after bad when you are bankrupt, or not when you're bankrupt, but when there's a bankruptcy procedure. That's a really serious issue. You can't funnel money off, so you can get sent to prison for that. It's a really serious business. So that might be why there's some separation. It might just be because the distributors have all got together and the shops have all got together independently. I don't know, but anyway, and I don't even know if that Crazy Cos person is genuinely the wife of the owner. I've got no idea. But either way, at the moment, and I checked before the live stream, you can check again now if you're on and let us know. But at the moment, everything's fine. It still works. So my equipment is working. I got a notification this evening.
Yours will get turned off in a minute.
No, yeah.
Yours.
Yeah. I got a notification of this evening of my Alkalinity results. So it's current status is okay. They were down, but they were back up again. And I'll just actually show you. This is my Instagram post, and I didn't translate this. You can run this through Google Translate, and it just looks like it's bankruptcy petition, basically. But pause that, screenshot it, and put it into Google Translate.
Where did that come from? This is what I find amazing about this industry. Something always comes up from. It's the same as with the Vibrant stuff, where all of a sudden, like, information was leaked out. Like, who was the original person that went looking for that?
Well, on that note,
it's probably a rival.
I wonder if it was a disgruntled employee, because there was some rumors kicking around 6 months or so ago. And I kept seeing every now and then Reef Factory would post, because I'm on their Facebook page, and every now and then I'd see them post saying, "Oh, we're just going to want to address the rumors." And I was like, "What rumors? I've not heard any rumors." So there must be rumors kicking around somewhere. But they'd be like, "Oh yeah, Reef Factory's fine. Yes, okay." I was like, "I didn't know it wasn't fine. Why?" So there was something was amiss. But I wonder if there's a disgruntled former employee or someone, maybe it's a rival, I don't know, but it's coming from someone. And on that point, there's a post about this on Ultimate Reef, UK forum, and it's talking about the bankruptcy, and everyone's just chipping in and saying, what does this mean? Is your app working? All this sort of stuff. And this guy you can tell when someone's new on Ultimate Reef. And this guy he's signed up to his, I don't know, he's got 3 posts. They're all, here we go, joined Thursday at 5:15. So this is a brand new profile. And most people on Ultimate Reef have been on it for years. I've been on it for a long time. And so this guy, I don't know who he is. He sounds like he's got some insight. He might be a competitor. I don't know. It sounds like he's got some kind of insight, though. He says, to clarify some things, Reef Factory laid off all their employees 2 days before Christmas 2024. And again, I don't know how true this is. This is just on Ultimate Reef. According to employees, an all employees forum, the production line has been taken over by the component manufacturer towards the Reef Factory's debt. So presumably someone was owed money and they said, look, we're going to take over this or something. I don't know. The statement from Crazy Corals looks like another smokescreen, bit harsh, because of the connection that I mentioned about. And I won't read all of that. You can pause the screen and read it later. But basically, they are saying, look, this has been going on a while, and there's the picture is a for sale sign on, and that's their offices, their headquarters. But he's been saying there's an all employees forum somewhere, big problems, and that's probably come from an ex-employee or something. Because I don't know if they did lay off all their staff, but if they did and they made redundancies or whatever, you're going to be pissed off. And you're going to talk about it. So if you've been wronged, but I don't really know where that came from. Yes, she is, says Pavel Wojciechowski. Sorry,
you only read that out because you wanted to attempt to pronounce that name.
No, I read it out because this is the thing. There's a lot of people have popped up who are Polish names, and I don't know if that's because they know something about Reef Factory, or if they're just Polish and it's just an interesting, it's a point of interest because it's a Polish company. Anyway. So that's the statement from Reef Factory and the information on Ultimate Reef. This is not necessarily the end of Reef Factory. Okay, it has not, as far as I can tell, it has not been dissolved. So Reef Factory still exists. Okay, and the website is still running, as in the app is still running, and it can be with I mentioned bankruptcy proceedings and how it works in the UK. If you can't pay your debt, then you get wound up and that's it. But there's another procedure called administration in the UK, and I presume there's an equivalent procedure in Poland, whereby the liquidator will get everyone together and they'll say, okay, let's say for the sake of argument, just playing with numbers, let's say Reef Factory owes £1 million and it's got £100,000. And they will go to all of the debtors and say, look, you're all owed £1 million between the lot of you. You're not going to get that. If the company is folded, if it disappears, you're going to get nothing, because that 100 grand is going to go to the liquidator's fees. Liquidators are expensive, really expensive. So your choices are, say, sod off Reef Factory, we don't care, you're going to fold, I don't want any money. Or we've got that 100 grand, we'll split it between you. So you get 10% of what you're owed, 10p in the pound. And then the company can keep going. It's probably going to do some restructuring, but it will try to do better in the future. They're probably not going to get credit terms anytime soon. But the point is, you get some money, and then the company can come out of administration when it's been streamlined, probably, and they work out what was doing well and what wasn't doing well, and then try to have another bite of the cherry and try to come through. So it might be that happens. And it might be, and actually often you get with that situation, someone else will come in and buy that company. And so someone will come to the liquidator and say, you know what, I will pay £200,000 for that. So that will mean you've got 200 grand to give to all your creditors, and I'll take over the company. So it might be that, what are they called? Ecotech might be looking at this, probably not. But Ecotech might be looking at this going, actually, I really like some of their stuff. Let's pull it in. We could do with some of their intellectual property, or just run it as a separate company, whatever. Or someone new. Ryan, he's setting up a coral auction website. Maybe he's thinking about going into equipment manufacturing.
No, I don't think so. No, anytime soon.
Yeah. So basically, that's it. It might still carry on. It might still go on, but there's every chance as well that if it's really in trouble, that it might fold. So it's too early to say at the moment. We're probably weeks, maybe even months away, probably weeks from knowing really what's going on and what's going to happen. Reef Factory haven't done that follow-up post, so that will be important to know what they say. But at the moment, just all I would say is just don't throw away your Reef Factory equipment. If it comes out the other side, great, and don't sell it dirt cheap just yet. But if it comes out the other side, happy days, and they'll carry on. But just don't hold your breath.
The community is very small, and everything goes around everywhere, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In this, so obviously I found out, and I think I sent it to you, didn't I? And then now we're talking about it, and everyone knows about it. So I'm not quite sure what I'm trying to say. But basically, so the only personal experience I've had with this sort of thing was the previous company that I had, and it was actually, do you remember Tyrac? They used to be in like train stations and airports and stuff like that, selling ties.
Yeah, or Tyrac. Yeah.
So they did that. They went into administration. They came to us and they went, look, we'll pay you some of the money. We owe you 10 grand or whatever, but we'll give you £1,000 and let us keep trading. Now they can do that because their customers don't take it personally, and they don't care. They just go in to buy a tie. Like it's not a big deal. Whereas this community, I almost feel like we will remember. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. There's a lot of people who are upset as well, quite understandably. And I'm trying to be kind of neutral in this. I'm just trying to tell you what the score is. I don't have skin in the game. Reef Factory have sent me a lot of stuff, but I don't feel like I owe them anything. So I'm just trying to be kind of tell you what's going on. And the first thing to say, actually, really, I should have said this at the start. I feel for everybody in this. People who are in the hobby are affected, of course, but the people who are working, either working for the company or who own the company, this must be the shittest of shit times, stressful as hell. It's not just like a normal business where like it's a local shop and people talk about it in your local village. This is all over Facebook. This is on Instagram. It's now on YouTube. People are talking about it. And so if you're sitting there watching this, that must feel, so I feel for the people involved, because this is a horrible thing to go through.
No one chooses to go down that path.
No.
If you have a company that appears to be successful at some point, you don't choose to go down that. Like you have no idea. Usually there's a list of things that cause a company to go down this route. but no one chooses to, if you see what I mean.
No,
So,
it's very, every now and then you'll get someone like Robert Maxwell, who's an absolute scumbag, or that guy who was BHS guy, I can't remember his name now. He's in exile on Monaco somewhere. Who absolute scumbag who will rinse the company and take all the money and disappear. That doesn't seem to be what's happening here.
Yeah, I know who you're talking. Like, I know who the BHS. I know who you're talking about.
Someone tell me in the chat. He's a real piece of work. Horrible, horrible person.
The one where he owed a load of people their like pensions.
He took all their pension, literally took money out of their pension pot, and he's now on a yacht, like a multi-million-pound yacht in Monaco.
Yeah.
Oh, what? Philip Green.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
That is that. I mean, maybe that is what's happening. I don't know. That does not seem to be the case here. This seems to be the case of a business that has fallen on hard times. Philip Green, there we go. a business that's fallen on hard times. And I think I've got a bit of I'll do a little bit of a potted history of what I think is the rise and fall of Reef Factory. So where they started going really well and how they ended up here. So I'll talk you through that. So first off, when they came into the market, they were new and exciting. Okay, so I came across them because I was looking for a salinity probe, and every time I went looking for a salinity probe, you could get GHL did one and Neptune did one, but you had to buy their central brain. It's about £1,000, and it can do all sorts of other stuff. But I just wanted to monitor salinity. I didn't want all that other stuff, so I didn't want to spend £1,000. And Reef Factory did a standalone salinity probe, and all their modus operandi, the way they did things was that they would have. You don't need to buy a central brain. You don't need to spend £1,000 to get into it. So you can buy a dosing pump or a light or a pH probe, just one piece of equipment, whatever you want. You can buy all the things you want. You can leave the other things you don't want. And it just uses one app. Really good idea. And this was all monitoring and control, which has been dominated by Neptune and GHL. So a brilliant alternative. Also, the equipment looked really slick. The build quality was never amazing, but it didn't really matter.
Was it cheaper?
It was cheaper. It wasn't cheap, but it was cheaper. And I think that's potentially one of their issues, actually, that I'll come on to later. But it was cheaper. It wasn't premium. It's always been sub-premium in terms of price. So it's not been as much as its competitors. The app was also fantastic. I loved the app when it first came out. If you watch back some of my reviews, I've taken all my Reef Factory videos down, by the way.
I did wonder.
Just to be in case someone doesn't know and they watch a video and they say, "Oh, Reef Dork says the pH probe is brilliant. I'll buy one." Oh, and it's half price. Wicked, even better. So I've taken them all down, and I'll put them back up once this is all over. But if you watch some of my old videos, they're actually unlisted. So if you've got the link, you can find it. But if you watch some of my old Reef Factory videos, I go in on how good the app is. I loved it. It was so good. It was easy to use, laid out brilliantly. It was just thought out fantastic. It was brilliant, and that made a big difference as well. Everything looked good. You could access it anywhere in the world. You could go log on your PC. There's a mobile phone app. Brilliant. Loved it. They were also quite an agile company. So what I mean by that is that they would bring out a product. So they brought out the KH Keeper, which was their alkalinity monitor. And it was tiny, which sounded brilliant at first, but then actually over time, it turned out the pH probe was a little bit fiddly. And if you wanted to change anything or replace the pH probe, it was really fiddly because it was so small. So they took that feedback and brought out another one within like 6 months or a year that fixed all those issues. And like most companies don't act that quick.
Yeah.
The downside of that was that some people started to feel like they were beta testers, because the people who bought the first one, then 6 months later, hang on a second, you've just made a better one. That's not fair. Why didn't you figure out these problems yourself?
Yeah.
That's so, you can decide where you sit on that, whether you think that's a good thing or a bad thing. But I think actually that showed maybe they should have spent more time researching. I don't know, but it was good from a new customer's point of view when they brought out something new that fixed issues. Great, happy days. And they also ended up, I think they gave a swap kit that you could upgrade the KH Keeper if you'd bought the standard one, I think. Anyway, the customer service was also really good at first. I don't know if I've ever got the true Reef Factory experience, because they sent me stuff from day one basically. So there was one person who I spoke to. I logged a support ticket, and he was asking me. He agreed to give me a refund. I said, "Oh no, I just want a replacement. I don't have a receipt. I'm Reef Dork. I was given it to do a review." And he was like, "Oh, Reef Dork, hello mate, nice to meet you." So I don't think I got special treatment, but it might be that they were like, "Watch out, this email address, that's Reef Dork." So roll out the red carpet or whatever. I don't know, but they were good. Their customer service at first was really good. and the website was really good as well. They then started expanding. So they had this plan to have a piece of equipment for everything.
Yeah.
There are some companies that do that. They'll have a skimmer, a light, a power head, a return pump. But Ecotech, for example, they've taken a long time to get there.
I would say Red Sea the same.
Red Sea the same, exactly. They take a long time. Red Sea took 5 years to bring out a light. Ecotech, they, instead of making their own skimmer, they've brought NIOS in because it's not easy. So, and they want to do it properly. So go on.
I remember in 2018, I went to dinner, and after Interzoo, I went to dinner with the people from Red Sea, and I said to him, "You just bought out this new dosing pump. You just bought out this new light," because they were all new at the time. That was the time that they released them. A new skimmer. I went, be a return pump coming, won't there? And if you think about it, it's taken all this time because this is the first return pump they've done, is it, or is that?
This is the second one.
Second. Yeah. But it took a long time since 20.
But they take their time. So the filter roller is a really good example. The first ones came out, and then a couple of other companies jumped on the bandwagon as well, made really good ones. But Red Sea sat back and waited. Yeah. And they do the Apple thing. They're never the first to the game, but they work out how to make it really well. So, whereas Reef Factory, they were kind of, it was exciting to a point because they were rushing out and you get new stuff all the time. And I was getting emails, Alex, we got a pH meter. Do you want to see that? Yeah, sign me up. We brought out a new light, sign me up, all this sort of. They were bringing out loads of stuff, and so they kept on. They brought new products all the time, which a lot of other companies don't do. It turns out there's a reason for that. But still, it was very impressive. And then they expanded. So they were first in Europe, and the UK was a big market for them. But they expanded into the US. And that was at the time when, so this is all the rise of Reef Factory. So if you're thinking, all right, mate, pull your tongue out of their ass. Oh, well, I'm going to do that now. So that was kind of the high watermark of Reef Factory. Amazing app, innovative equipment. It all looked fantastic. Really nice people, good customer service, slightly cheaper than the premium brands, and something for everything in your tank. Brilliant. They expanded into the US, and things started to, I don't think it was necessarily just that, but things started to go south around that time. So they had lots of issues with their servers when they first moved over. The app became quite unreliable. Over the last 2 years, I've steadily taken Reef Factory equipment off my tanks. So I have it now. I found on the tanks up here, which are in the opposite corner of the house to my router, I kept having connection issues. Whereas the tank in the router, in the same room as the router, didn't have connection issues. So I've steadily kind of weaned myself off Reef Factory stuff. But they expanded into the US and had more server problems. So more people were having issues with the app. People were complaining constantly. I had more issues than I would like, but it was never a really big deal. But plenty of people had issues. They then lost the distributor in the UK. So I only ever really spoke to the distributor. A couple of times I spoke to them, but it was Coral Compass was the distributor. They were brilliant. A guy called Tony. He was fantastic. Really, he understood how to work with YouTubers, which not everybody does. I think you'd agree, Ryan.
Yes.
He had a really good reputation in the industry, but he stepped down. I think he retired or semi-retired or something. So they had to find someone else. I think they did briefly work with Aquatic now. I can't remember who they did. They briefly had someone else, and then they went in-house. But after they lost Coral Compass, I think they were probably doing a lot more for Reef Factory than maybe you realize. So that didn't help them. Suddenly they're on their own. They don't have the expertise, the safe pair of hands to help them with marketing, aftercare, all these sorts of things. So I don't think that helped them in the UK, certainly. And I also started to speak to shops who said they would have issues with them. So there are some shops I spoke to who stopped selling Reef Factory stuff because they got fed up with getting returns. And I had some issues with the stuff I had, but it was generally all right. But it seemed like, and the more you read, it seemed like people were starting to have issues with stuff breaking. So reliability, because they've only been out for like 3 years, something like that. So you don't have long-term reviews properly. But reliability over that time, because first 6 months everything's going to be great, but now it started to think the quality wasn't actually necessarily that great. And I think the expansion didn't go well overall. The app also, for me, went from being the best thing since sliced bread. I loved it. They updated it a few times, big updates, and it just got more and more clunky, less simple. They tried to make it really easy to use, but it just became more fiddly and more messy. I went to calibrate my KH keeper the other day, and the calibration process now is awful. It's terrible. So it got really clunky and disjointed. And they tried to update it a couple of times, just made it worse. It got worse and worse. And then they had an issue where they used to bring out first generation of product, and then, like I said, they bring out a second generation. And it got to the point where they did that so much that people got a little bit fed up, because the first generation was usually not that great. It was like superficially brilliant, but after a few months, you're like, eh. And the second generation was really what the first generation stuff should have been. And I made a video on the Reef Dork Extra channel a while ago talking about the things that 5 companies do really well and things that they don't do well. And this was one of the things that with Reef Factory that I said they don't do well, is that you sometimes probably want to avoid the first thing they bring out and go for the second generation. And that started to be a bit of a problem. Their dosing pump, for example, they upgraded the dosing pump. It was much better quality. The lights, I'm not even going to talk about it because you'll fall asleep. They also brought out a smart tester, which in theory could test calcium, nitrate, phosphate, and magnesium. And they advertised it as testing all of those things, one at a time, but they advertised it as can test all of those things. They sent me one to review. I watched all their videos. I read all their marketing material. It didn't say anything. It just said it can do these things. And it turned out from release, I think it could only test phosphate. And it was about 6 months before they brought out the magnesium reagents. And to this day, 2 years on, they still don't have calcium reagents. They still don't have nitrate reagents. So there will have been people who bought 4 of them. Great, I want to test all 4 of those. And they've just got 3 sat on the shelf gathering dust. 2 something. Not cool. 6 months maybe, well, possibly, but because I look back, I was like, hang on a second, did they tell me that? Have I missed this? But they didn't make it clear. And like I say, with my video, the smart tester, I was like, I would have rather be able to tell people that. But anyway, so not cool. And people have problems with the smart tester. I've taken mine offline now. It went wrong recently, and I got bored of it. So I just test phosphate manually. When it worked, that was fantastic. I loved it.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. It almost influenced me, Alex.
Really? Did you need to buy it? Oh, really? Fantastic.
I didn't buy it, but when I saw you had one, I was like, maybe if it's that good, because the problem with automatic tests is they're usually okay at the beginning and then not so good later on.
To be fair, long term, the reliability was still good. You can watch my well, you can't watch my long-term review, but when I put it back up at some point, you'll be able to watch the long-term review. And occasionally I had issues, but long-term consistency was good. The beaker used to get stained, but if you replace that, it was good. It was still, it wasn't spot on. It wasn't exact, but it was good enough. So long-term reliability was fine in terms of results, but more and more people started to have problems with it. And I had a problem. Got no idea. It just doesn't work. Don't know why. And I did raise a support ticket, and they said, here's the first 3 things to do. Check these first, please. And I just couldn't be asked. I just thought, you know what? I can't be bothered with this. This piece of equipment should be working for me, not the other way around. And from what I can make out, I wasn't alone in issues with the smart tester. That was one of the piece of equipment they had quite a few issues with, which is a shame, because if it weren't for a few glitches, it's brilliant. But with the glitches, nah, it's no good. They also launched like a Facebook rival called Reef Social. Really good idea. The idea was to bring.
I remember this. They asked us to contribute, didn't they?
Yes, they did. Yeah.
I was like, I'm not taking on that.
It sounded like they wanted me to be us to be an employee, but not getting paid, and I wasn't really up for that. But anyway,
but they told us it was going to be good for us. They said it'd be really good for you.
It'd be good for your channel. I hate if you ever approach a YouTuber, please don't ever say this will be great for your channel, because it's just not the case. But anyway, that was that they launched Reef Social, which was in theory like a Facebook alternative, only instead of Facebook where you've got just random nonsense on it all the time, this was just reefing stuff. It sounds brilliant, but actually they launched it, it's in the app, and it sucks. It's like, it's all very pretty and all that sort of stuff, but there's never anything useful on there. They used to have to encourage people to post, and the people who were posting were connected to Reef Factory one way, or they've got like a bunch of people who like admins on their Facebook page and those. So it never took off. The community didn't really take to it, and you'd have to go into your Reef Factory app. You don't do that. If you're on Facebook, you look there for stuff anyway. So it was a really nice idea, but it didn't work. But the point of this is that they were expanding massively. They had dosing liquids as well.
Yeah,
Had everything, expanded into the US, and it just kind of, it feels to me
it
like they got to the point.
itself.
Exactly. It just, they spread too far, and then it kind of imploded. And it sounds like the crack started appearing 6 months ago when they started talking about, well, we're addressing the rumors. What rumors? And it just, they dreamed too big, and it didn't work out. And that's my potted history of like the rise and fall of Reef Factory. That's how I think they got to, they were really good, and they still might get back to that, but I think they just pushed too hard. They too many fingers in too many pies, had to expand too much, and they couldn't cope. Whereas other companies take 5 years to bring out a light. Reef Factory in that time have brought out a dozen products, and are working on more dosing websites, the works.
I wonder if it'll make people more selective about where they buy, what they buy, as if to go, does it like tarnish potential new companies coming along?
100%, absolutely.
I'd rather go with one that is not new, that I know is going to be around.
Yeah, completely. Because Reef Factory had a good crack, to be fair, and they might carry on. But now this has happened. This makes, if I'm Ecotech and Red Sea and those kind of companies, I'm like going, hey, because it's like, okay, well, you go and play with the Reef Factory stuff or whatever new company. Yeah, fine, knock yourself out. See you in 3 years' time when things don't work out, and people will be like, well, is this going to be another Reef Factory if there's a new company? So I think it would make things harder. Certainly, memories fade, don't they? So maybe 6 months down the line, people will have forgotten about it, or 2 years or whatever. But for now, there's going to be a long period where people are going to be reluctant. But so the things have not, the company has not yet folded as far as I'm aware. It has not, Reef Factory is not dissolved. It's still going, and they might come out of it. But if you see something nice and shiny that's half price on a website, ask yourself whether you want to buy it or just hold off, because I think people won't have much faith in them anyway. Even if they do come out the other side, people are going to be nervous for 6 months or so. So those sales, they might not be as generous if things turn around, but there will still be good deals to be had if things improve. So there we go. That's it. That's everything I have to say about Reef Factory. Is there anything else that you wanted to add? I've not seen, there's loads of comments. I've not seen any of it, but
I didn't really add anything to that, did I? This is one of the streams where you got to take over.
Pussycat, you said their rollout had a fundamental amateur design fault. What was that they admitted? Tell me what that was. I liked that. I liked their roller filter. But yeah, there you go. Yeah, Reef Dork talks about equipment for 2 hours.
All right, I've been looking at other stuff, so I've been looking at other stuff and nodding along.
Well, in which case, should we move on from that? If you've got comments or questions or whatever, by the way, in the chat, if you want to ask me about anything of this, then please do. But whilst we're doing that, whilst I'm waiting for that, we're going to do the news. Bump, bump, bump. Dan's Reef says he saw a post where someone brought a Reef Factory tester for 700 quid a few days before this came out. Well, that's why as soon as I saw that, I was like, I'm going to put this up as a thumbnail on YouTube, because it was on Facebook, it was on Instagram, but it wasn't on other places. So people need to see it. Anyway, right. News, Ryan. We talked... hang on. Can I do?
It feels like this episode is like an extended news section.
It is really. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to break this up, because Ryan's going to pass out if we're talking.
No, I said I'm fine. Like I'm all right.
But I got good news for you, Ryan.
Okay, good. We got brown goby.
No, well, not yet.
Okay.
So this is from reefkeepingnews.com, and it's De Jong, our friends in Holland.
Okay.
Doing agriculture. They are using IVF to breed ornamental marine fish.
Okay.
A little scant on detail, so they've not said which fish and all these sorts of things. But I'll read the article. It says, this week our team successfully implemented IVF, in vitro fertilization, in selected teleost species, whatever that means. Gametes were retained under anesthesia to minimize stress and ensure viability, followed by fertilization, blah, blah, blah. So they don't say what, but basically this feels like they've sat around and they've had this meeting where they've gone, we've spent £1 million trying to get this bloody bandit angel to breed. I can't work out how it breeds. And someone's gone, Dave, mate, why don't we just like put it
euthanize it? That's a bad idea.
Not euthanize it. Why don't we just like put it under gas and air, take its eggs out and just make one? And someone's gone, that's brilliant. Why didn't we do that?
That's true.
This feels so, but I mean, I don't know how easy that is and how expensive that process is, but that is brilliant, like, for the hobby.
They do that with other fish all the time.
Really?
It's not, they get like sperm and eggs from fish, like, to get them to, and then mix them up in a bowl.
Oh yeah, I suppose.
Like with koi and stuff like that, I think they do it when they're trying to breed specific strains.
Yeah, I bet. Well, there you go. But that's what's happening. That's really cool, and I would guess this is going to be small scale and
pepper angels.
Exactly that sort of thing. But that's potentially huge. But I mean, we're talking years down the line. But De Jong do this sort of thing, don't they? They're very impressive. They do make strides, and I dread to think how much money they spend on research and development. But very impressive. I thought that was a really cool story. I like that.
Yeah, no, I agree. You got me back in the room.
I'm going to keep you in the room before we move on to stuff that's going to knock you out of the room.
Yeah.
Gallery Aquatica. Someone asked the other week about Gallery Aquatica, the Aussie YouTube channel, and said, "Where is it? Any idea?" Well, they're back.
Okay.
With a bang. So they've got a new YouTube studio. They're going to be doing freshwater videos as well.
Okay. Look, you say that, but there are far more freshwater fish keepers than there are marine.
But they also, one thing they said is, look, they're going to keep on the same channel, but their thumbnails will be different color, freshwater or saltwater. So you'll know instantly that you can avoid if it's about guppies or whatever. All you want is clownfish. But yeah, they've been busy for a while doing various things in and out of the shop, hence the delay. But they're back. They've got a new YouTube studio. They're moving to a new shop, which is irrelevant for me because I can't just nip over to. Actually, they said they got a shop in Salisbury, which is relatively close to me, but I think it's Salisbury, New South Wales or whatever. Somewhere
else, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But anyway, so they're back. So that's, if you were wondering where they are, they're back, and that's what they've been up to. They've been busy. Jecod. You know the DMP series of Powerheads?
Yes.
I did a review of the DMP 40. Go on.
Like, what series is this? Which one have they copied for this one?
I know, MP40, the Vortex.
Okay, yes, okay, yeah.
So the biggest one they did until now was the DMP40, which is roughly equivalent of the Vortex MP40, which is the best-selling pump in the history of time. There is now a 65 and a 55. The 65 is close to the Vortex MP60, not quite as powerful, but close. And it doesn't stick on quite such a thick glass, but it's close. So
you've got one of the.
No, I had the MP40. I bought it.
Yeah.
I did the review and I sold it because I've got Vortex and it doesn't make sense. If I was starting afresh, it might be a different scenario. But there's no point. They're not better than the Vortex.
That's what I was interested in. I wondered if they were like long term, if they were as equally good or not.
They're Jecod, so they'll be fine. Jecod ability is generally really good anyway. The one thing I loved about it was the standing wave. You could really easy to make a standing wave from a tank like that. It looks so cool, which I've never been able to work out with the Vortex. But no, I don't still have them, but they'll be good, and they are a rip off of the design. But that's life. And at the end of the day, hobbyists get cheap stuff. So cool.
Trade
alternative. Tunsy has a new YouTube channel. This is an English language YouTube channel, and it's called, I can't remember. I should have found out what it's called yet. They did it. They uploaded a couple of videos. Tunsy.
They've done 3. I looked today actually.
Okay.
There's one with an American guy, and then there's 2 at Reef Palooza. One sort of like the whole show, and then there's one. I think the last one they've done is about a guy who walks around these shows, and I've seen him a few times with a little tank around his neck. Yeah, and I just wonder. Oh, you haven't watched that one yet?
No, I've seen that on that bloke on a different video. So
yeah.
channel,
I just wonder, like, does he take that home, put it on his desk, and maintain it, or is
Yeah, I
that
bet he does. He must be. Yeah.
or is that set up specifically for the show?
He must. That must be a tank he has, and he has like a bracket or something. But
Yeah.
no, I've seen it on. I've watched the other two, but it's called at Tunsey Aquarium Technology. If you want to find it, they currently have 197 subscribers. So I watched the two videos that were this one, the tour, the US tour.
Yeah,
I loved that.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
the guy called Roger, the nicest guy you'll ever meet in your life. He was I loved watching him. Half of it was about him tending to plants and stuff. So
Yeah.
if you're tuning in to see Powerheads, it was just him saying, "Oh, these are the plants I bring inside in the winter." And I loved that. It was so cool.
He was growing them inside, wasn't he? With and he had all the lights set up, like it was a reef.
Yeah, it was that was brilliant. And they talked about kind of being a family company, and like I felt like I came out of that thinking I really like Tunsey now. Like,
yeah.
I didn't really know much about them before, but I love that. But there you go. Anyway, there's a new YouTube channel for Tunsey.
Yeah.
And the other thing, so the other week, last week we talked about these frozen auto feeder that's like the size of your head, basically.
Yeah.
So I went back and watched after that. I watched a couple more videos, and I have a slightly changed perspective. I still wouldn't have it on my tank day to day. Just no way. It's huge. But the one of the videos I watched, or a couple of them, show the person behind it, a lady called Tamara Marshall.
Yeah. And
so randomly, I was like, I know that name. She added me on Facebook like a year ago. And she's like a science type. She's like a scientist of somehow in our hobby. And first off, she seemed like a really interesting and knowledgeable person. And when someone behind a product is like that, makes you feel a bit better. But also, a lot of people talked about was using this for going on holiday. Now, currently,
but it's massive. It'd be expensive, I assume.
Well, that's the downside. But currently, I'll come on to the price. Currently, when I go on holiday, I really like it when I have someone to come in and feed, because otherwise I just feed pellet food, and I don't like it when I only feed pellet food, especially when, like in the past, I've had a copper band or whatever, and I want them to eat frozen food. I don't want to leave them not. So for holiday, that would be fantastic, and it holds 72 cubes, so you could go away for a fortnight in theory and feed plenty. So for holidays, brilliant. And it's got a couple of clever things. It's got an optical sensor that detects a freaking laser beam that detects when it's dispensed food, and it plops the cube into a little cage so it thaws in the water and then spreads out, which is good, because if I put a solid lump of frozen food in, one of my fish, my rabbit fish, tries to eat the whole thing. So I like that. And it's got Wi-Fi, it's got Bluetooth, it works on all controllers, Apex, all that sort of stuff.
Can you put your phone near it, like that heater?
Yeah, contactless. No contactless.
No contactless. Missed out.
So all that sounds fantastic, right? You asked about the price.
£1,000.
It's not that much. $700.
Close enough.
But that's a lot. I mean, what's an auto feeder? 50 quid for the Eheim one?
Yeah.
Probably less. So that's a lot of money, but it's an advanced piece of kit. So it's $700. It's always, because that's expensive, it's always going to be niche. But actually, I came away from that thinking, actually, that's not. I was too dismissive of it. I wouldn't want it above my tank because it's too big. But for holidays, actually, I could see that being useful. And it's about 12 months away, they reckon. My keyboard stopped working.
Polo will be their first customer, and those 72 cubes will be fed each day.
Yeah, exactly, in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
But yeah, so why is my keyboard not working? I pressed a button. I pressed the wrong. There we go. Yeah, I fixed it. But it's about 12 months away. They're doing a Kickstarter to get it going. So.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Is there a link to it, or no? I'm intrigued.
No.
To see if it's popular.
I went to look at it, and it didn't look like it had started.
Yeah.
But it's Indiegogo. So if you search for Indiegogo Manta Systems Auto Feeder, you'll find it. But there we go. But I thought, actually, it's expensive, but I like it. Apart from the price. And that concludes the news. Woo! I'm hot. There we go. Do you have anything else to add, Ryan?
No.
You said anything today?
No. I had an easy session, didn't I? I just had to keep my eyes open.
Yeah, so, it was quite hard. Yeah.
No, look, I found some of it interesting, but you know me, I'm not an equipment person, am I?
This is very true. She's
but
an amazing inventor if that was her idea, says Trav.
Yeah, I agree. That is like, I think, I can't say because I'm not an inventor, so I don't know. But I think the people that do the auto feeders, there has to be a thing if you're going to use it on a day-to-day basis where it takes that water. Because look, think about it. She has, or whoever's designed it, assuming it's her, has designed something where the food drops into water and then defrosts. What they now need is a little pipe to take that defrosted water and take it up into the tank and then pump it in, and then you can put it in the sump, not in the sump, but next to the tank or whatever. That makes it. Then there's far more mass market, then, isn't it?
It is, but Mice's shrimp isn't a liquid.
Yeah, I know, but that doesn't. But the what it's going in is a liquid.
Yeah, but it'll get stuck. If it was that easy, they would have done that instead. And I'm not so keen on that. I think that feels like that's fraught with danger. Pussycat's following up. I asked him about the problem. Metal shaft driving plastic roller with key way. If it jams, motor round the key way. Oh, okay. Never drive soft plastic with stainless. Okay, I didn't have that issue, but fair enough. There we go. Yeah, and Steve Webb's been watching David Attenborough, Ocean.
He was 99 yesterday.
He was, yeah. I hope he never dies. I think they find it like.
I know. I thought the same thing, and I was just like, he is not long for this world. Probably.
No, he's a national treasure, though. He's just. I love David Attenborough. Everybody does.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, all right. Well, I don't think I've got much else to say. So, shall we wrap it up, Ryan?
Yep, we have an early one today. Nice.
And we'll come next. So next week we'll be doing a debrief of Reef Summit and Love to Reef.
Yes, true. Right.
So we'll see you all then.
See you later.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
Bye.